Hello everyone, Ollie here from Dudes Talk Cinema, and today, as you can see by the title on the thumbnail, I'm going to be reviewing an anime film. I think this might be the first anime film that I've reviewed on the channel, because I don't think Dusty or Nerdtube has reviewed any anime films on the channel. I might be wrong, I might have to go double check, but I'm pretty sure they haven't. Oh my god, we reviewed The Boy and the Heron. Me, Dusty, and Nerdtube. Which is funny because I mentioned Studio Ghibli earlier. I don't know how the fuck I didn't remember that, but there you go. And I'm pretty sure I haven't either. And I think I would have known if I did. Because I'm going to get into it, but I'm going to give you a brief history, my brief history into the anime world, I guess, so film and TV. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting because as of right now, when I'm recording this, Dusty, who is the co-founder of Dudes Talk Cinema alongside me, I told her that I'm making this video as well as another one which is going to be relating to this review, and I haven't outright spoken to her or told her what I'm actually watching. Like, I've given her a couple of clues and she's given me a couple of guesses, and the guesses she got wrong, which is kind of cool. And then she said, can you at least give me the director's name? And I was like, I don't know, are you going to look it up? And I'm hoping she's held her word on that and not fucked up. But I gave her the director's name, which is, let me just double check, Satoshi Kon. Apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Satoshi Kon. Obviously, I can name the film I'm watching, because obviously, you know, you're watching the video of the review, which is Perfect Blue. I'm not going to name the other one, because I'm going to leave that one for a surprise as well, mainly for Dusty. So, Perfect Blue is actually the first film that I ordered on Amazon, which was the one I initially bought that I told Dusty about, saying that, oh, I bought an anime film on Blu-ray on Amazon, and I'm going to surprise you and make this video. And then about a day or two later, I spotted that the same director, Satoshi Kon, had another film that was also popular, that was probably is he the second or third most popular film in his filmography, just from based on Letterboxd, because I'm on Letterboxd, because I love Letterboxd. I love reviewing films, of course, which is why I'm here. Yeah, it wasn't on Amazon. I went to CEX, which is for, you know, people abroad and don't know CEX, or sex as they pronounce it, but I don't say sex because, you know,
become more powerful than ever with an upgrade at sex.
So CEX is basically it's a shop. It's an electronics company in the UK. Don't know if it's in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, but at least it is in England. It is. Basically, you can buy second-hand, pre-owned films, box sets, TV shows, and TV box sets. Also, alongside like buying second-hand phones, TVs, monitors, whatever, all that kind of stuff, and then also, you know, games, video games, yeah, retro games and brand new games, all that kind of stuff, basically, all electronics, pretty much. So, I noticed on their website, I was thinking there's not going to be one. It's not going to be there in stock, because obviously, I think it's kind of a rare Blu-ray, at least as far as I'm aware, it's a rare Blu-ray. And I looked on CEX's website to see if it was in stock, and lo and behold, it was. So I'm very lucky that I have it. It was only like £8. Again, this is the one that is the second film which I'm not naming because of, you know, want to keep it a surprise. But obviously, the one I'm reviewing today is Perfect Blue, which is going to be coming to the house. Originally, it was 1:30 till 3:30. Which is obviously because obviously Amazon give you, you know, kind of like a 2 times in between to kind of estimate when they're going to come. So originally it was 1:30 to 3:30, and now it's 2:30 to 4:30. So I have to wait longer. So I don't even know if I'm going to be reviewing this today, when I'm recording this, which is the 21st of November. It might be the next day. I don't know. I have got plans tomorrow. mainly afternoon, but late morning I could be gone, so I might not be able to do it tomorrow. I hope I can do it later, but I can't guarantee it. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling a bit, but I just thought I'd explain the reason why I'm making this video, because obviously Perfect Blue is like from 1997, and you're probably wondering why am I reviewing this now, and what significance does it hold for this video? It's because I'm going to be talking about my brief history of anime in film and television. So my earliest memory of anime is watching Studio Ghibli, or Studio Ghibli. Now, Ghibli, I don't know how you pronounce it. I mean, I typically call it Studio Ghibli. But since watching some videos on YouTube of, bits and bobs, reviews, reactions, or whatever, they say Ghibli. Some people call it Ghibli, some people call it Ghibli. Whatever the case is, I'm just going to say Ghibli for the hell of it. So, Studio Ghibli is the first set of anime films that I've watched. I've not seen every single one of them. The only ones that I grew up with was My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo, and what was the other one? I think it was Spirited Away, pretty much. And there was some recently that I watched for the first time, like Princess Mononoke, The Princess of Kaguya, or something like that. The Tale of Princess Kaguya, I think that's what her name is. And then Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, which is their first, well, I say first, it's considered Studio Ghibli's first film, but it isn't really, it's actually Castle in the Sky. But anyway, so yeah, my first memory of watching anime is Studio Ghibli. And yeah, I love the majority of their catalogue. I've yet to watch every single one of their films, but I've slowly been collecting their films on Blu-ray, and yeah, so if you haven't seen my top 20 films of all time, I've done it on the channel probably about 2-3 months ago, I can't remember exactly, but I made that video, and 2 of their films made it onto my top 20 films of all time. So if you're interested in seeing which 2 of their films made it on that list, then go check them out. So yeah, Studio Ghibli was my first, and then years later, this is like obviously when I was younger when I watched it, and then fast forwarding to my college days, when I kind of reunited with Dusty, because we technically known each other since primary school, or elementary school if you're American, and she basically had to move school because she moved house and whatever, so I didn't get to see her until secondary school, high school, whatever, and then we met up again in college, and that's when we started to become, well, in my case anyway, closer friends, and bonded over film, and because we were on a film course together at college. And during that time, she lended me, well, actually, sorry, I asked her if she could get me into some anime that she think I would like, and that she likes as well. Like, basically, I wanted her to recommend me good stuff that isn't, hentai anime, which I don't like. I want entertainment. I don't want that kind of entertainment. I just want great stories, great characters, and all that stuff. And the first thing that she gave me was Steins Gate, the sci-fi time travel series. Obviously, the Steins Gate Zero, and then the film the Load Region of Deja Vu. And she gave me all 3 of those, and I eventually watched them all. It took a while to get to watch them all because I was busy, and I'd getting in the mood of watching the show, and being in the right frame of mind. So I eventually watched it all, and I really liked it. I've yet to rewatch it because I want to rewatch it, but I don't have all of Steins Gate. I only have the first series on Blu-ray, part 1 of Steins Gate Zero, and I don't have the film yet, Load Region of Deja Vu. So I need to get those at some point. Until I do, I'm not going to watch it because I want the whole collection so I can watch it back to back pretty much. So so she gave me Steins Gate, and I really liked Steins Gate. I liked some better than others. Some I like, I think the original series is my favourite of the three Steins Gate projects, I guess, films, shows, whatever. Then she gave me, I believe I can't remember now, was it? I think she gave me Erased next, which is also sort of is kind of time travel, not as much as * steins Gate, but it is still time travel. It's more psychological thriller-ish, which I also really enjoyed. And then she gave me The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, her Blu-ray of that, which I also really liked. So she gave me 3 at the moment. As of this video, she's given me 3 of her copies of *Steins Gate 0, and the film *Steins Gate, and also Erased and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which are very popular, of course, in the anime community. So that's kind of my main history. Obviously, other than Studio Ghibli and *Steins Gate, Erased, and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, obviously I'm aware of other anime, but I've just not gotten around to it, whether it's because I'm not interested in it or just haven't got around to it. I mean, there are a couple of anime films like on Netflix that I have been meaning to watch, but just haven't got around to it. But it was only just recently when I got the thought of, why not look online and see what are the most popular anime films of all time are. Not shows, because I don't have that kind of time at the moment to watch shows. So I looked up what are the, I think it was like top 10, top 15, 20 anime films of all time. I think it was 25, I think, actually. I'll put it in the edit, but and Perfect Blue, I believe, was number 7 on the list, I think, which is pretty damn high. So, and I looked at the blurb, like the synopsis, and I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. So, yeah, so I looked on Amazon, and it was on Amazon. There weren't many copies left. I think it was like a few left in stock. And I just checked earlier to see if there were still more, and I don't think there are. So I'm glad I got it now. I'm glad I ordered it just in time before it did sell out. So it must be popular. So yeah. So Perfect Blue, again, it's coming soon. I think it's still 2:30 to 4:30. Okay, yeah, it's still 2:30 to 4:30. So yeah, and I've got this other Blu-ray, obviously still by Satoshi Kon. So I'm going to be watching that as soon as I can as well. But for this video, it's going to be Perfect Blue. Alright, so I'm going to read out the plot synopsis, or the plot summary for Perfect Blue, that's on Letterboxd, which is what I initially saw. So, rising pop meme quits singing to pursue a career as an actress. After she takes up a role on a popular detective show, her handlers and collaborators begin turning up murdered. Harbouring feelings of guilt and haunted by visions of her former self, Mima's reality and fantasy meld into a frenzied paranoia. So that alone got me invested. And I was like, I gotta see this film. This looks great. But yeah, I'm really excited to check this out because I am a fan of psychological thrillers, which is obviously what this is. Yeah, so I need to also point out, before I go and watch the film, once the delivery's here, I will be watching both the Japanese sub, so the original version of the film, and also the English dub. So I'm actually going to be watching both, and then I might try and compare the two as well and say which one I think I prefer watching, or which version I prefer, based on, I guess, obviously the performances of the two variant actors. So and then obviously I'm going to recommend which of the two I recommend. I mean, obviously it depends on who you are, but just based on my experience, and then hopefully that will interpret what you'll watch. If my review of the film and my thoughts and what obviously I've just said on the plot summary interests you, then do that. So yeah, so I'm gonna head off. I have to wait till the film gets here, and I'm gonna get watching. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to review it today or tomorrow or whatever, but fingers crossed today. But depending on when it does get here, and because I think it's only like an hour and 20-ish minutes, something like that. It's quite a short film, unlike this second film, which is like 2 hours or something. So I'm gonna wait on the other film. So yeah, I'll see you guys whenever I'll be seeing you, later on, tomorrow, the next day, a few days later, I don't know. But either way, I'll see you guys then. 2 days later. Alright, I've watched the 2 versions of Perfect Blue. Here's the Blu-ray. Blu-ray? Sorry. Fucking stupid. So, yes, it's 2 days later, as I've already said just now. Now, like I said earlier in the video, it was weird because it's 2 days later, but when I did that recording, I said I had something come up, which was yesterday, and I wasn't able to do this then because what I did yesterday was more important than this. So, and also I'd only watched one, well, the Japanese sub up at that point, and I wanted to watch that and the English dub in preparation for this section for the review, because I wanted to compare them and say my thoughts on them briefly before I do get into my thoughts on the actual film itself. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about is, you know, the two versions, the Japanese sub and the English dub. Which do I prefer of the two, and which do I recommend more? Again, depending on who you are, but just in my preference. So I watched the Japanese sub first, and that was on Friday evening, the same day I recorded the intro bit, the first 14 minutes of it, 14 minutes of the video. And today I watched the English dub. I watched the first part this morning, and then I watched the rest of it this evening. Why? Because I had something else pop up in between, which I needed to go to. So I've watched both versions now, which is my main objective. Personally, it was actually quite difficult because, I was surprised by how much I liked the Japanese version, because I rarely do watch the original Japanese subs for anime, because I usually watch dubs, especially for like Studio Ghibli films, because, you know, it's my native language, English, so it's much easier to watch. But I thought in this case, well, you know what, this will be the first time ish where I watch the original Japanese version, because it's the intended vision of the film. So I thought, well, why not? So I watched that first, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked it. And then I watched the English one, and at first it was a bit weird because I actually started watching it the same night I watched the when I finished the Japanese one. But I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to wait a couple of days, which I did, and watch it then, because I had the Japanese voices in my head from that version, and then watching the English one was weird because it's two completely different set of voices. So I was like, you know what, I'll wait, and then try and not erase it, but try and loosen up those voices so that I can try and get used to these English ones. And at first it was a bit weird, despite me waiting 2 days to watch it, well, giving it a couple of days to watch it. But it was a bit strange at first, but after a while I got used to it, and I've grown to like them, the English voice actors, and in the end I thought they did good. But personally for me, I think this is the first time I'm going to say this, probably not the only time, but this is the first time I'm going to say this. I think the Japanese version is slightly better than the English dub, which a lot of people are going to say, of course it's better, what are you talking about, it's the OG version. Well, yeah, I mean, it is also the first version I watched of the film, but it was just the voice acting, it was the I say performances, I guess it is performances, but you don't see the actual actors, it's just the voice. But the voice they portray, especially our main character in the film that we follow, her voice in the Japanese one feels more in line of her character, if that makes sense. It's weird to say this because it's a different language, but I just think her voice suited it slightly better than the English one, despite me still liking the English dub for the main character, but I mean also the other characters, but we mainly follow, you know, the main protagonist in the film, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I just want to point out, I prefer the Japanese one slightly more than the English one, but I definitely would say the English one's obviously more rewatchable for me, because of course I'm not having to read the text basically every second, so I don't miss the details, especially as I watched it for the first time. Having said that, part of me wish it would have been interesting to see what would have been the difference in experience of watching the English one first and then the Japanese one, because I probably would have had in my mind what was going on, and then I don't know, but it was certainly an experience. Like, I don't know, do I regret it? Not necessarily, but would have been interesting to see how my experience would have differed or enhanced by watching them in vice versa order. So what else? So basically, for me, the Japanese version edges out a bit more, mainly for the performances, and it just fit it for me personally a little bit more. So that's that. Now, which of the two do I recommend to you? Again, it comes down to personal preference, but if you speak English and it's your native language and it's the one you know the most, then I would say watch the English version first. Because I would obviously still say watch the Japanese version, but for first time viewing, I would say watch the English version. Again, if you're English and you're more familiar with the language than others. But if you're Japanese and you're watching this, hello, or if you're familiar with Japanese more, if you want the original experience, sorry, if you want to experience the original vision, what the original version was like, then watch the Japanese version by all means. But I'm just saying, if you would find it more simpler watching the English version, then watch the English version, dub, whatever, because it is simpler for someone who speaks English, and that's the only language that I can speak, and I have to read the text if I'm watching the Japanese version, which isn't too bothersome. But when you're watching it for the first time, it's like you're trying to focus on what's going on, but also needing to know what is going on because of what they're saying, the characters. So Dusty did say that. I can't remember if I mentioned it in the intro, but Dusty said that she prefers watching the English versions because obviously, one, she speaks English, of course, but also she doesn't have to keep reading the text every bloody second and trying to keep on focusing on what's going on, which I now, having experienced that, I understand why. So in summary of what I just said, because I want to move on to the actual film itself and say my thoughts, so watch the English version dub if you're more familiar with English and you are English, American English, British, whatever, or you speak English, then, and if you don't want to be reading writing on the screen whilst trying to focus on what's going on, watch the English version. If you want to watch the Japanese version, if you don't mind reading the text on the screen whilst watching it, if you don't mind that, and also especially if you want to watch the more authentic version of the film, watch the Japanese version. So that's it, really. That's kind of my answer to that. So yeah, that being said, let's move on to the actual film itself. What did I think? And I thought it was really good. I really did like this. I don't really know where to start, really. I mean, I usually do the positives, then mix, then negatives. I guess that's what I'll do. Let me just get up my list, because I wrote them down. So, if you haven't seen my previous reviews on the channel, then I will let you know that I do write down positives that I have, of course, mixed negatives that I would have. But I also would consider positives, mixed, negative aspects of the film that some people will consider, like things that maybe I might not agree with, but I'm gonna bring them up anyway, because they might align with yours. So when you watch it, if you have already, if you haven't, then well, yeah. I should probably point out first, I should probably do like a spoiler-free bit, because Dusty is actually going to be watching this, so I want to give her the spoiler-free experience and tell my thoughts on that. So I was going to probably give you the Blu-ray, Dusty. I'm speaking to you directly now. So I was thinking of giving it to you, but it really depends on how you feel, because I got to warn you, Dusty and also other people watching that haven't seen the film and don't want it to be spoiled, I do have to point out that, if you don't know already, there are a couple of scenes of sexual violence. Now, the actual context of those scenes, well, the one that pops into my mind immediately, without spoiling it, like the actual context of the scene, it's kind of hard not to, because you think, oh, I don't know. Well, I can understand you're hesitant about it, but basically, well, the first scene with sexual violence that I think is the first scene, not the first scene of the film, but the first thing that I know that is on there is it's actually not actual sexual violence, it's just depicting it, because the main character we follow is an actress, well, becomes an actress, and one of the scenes she has to do in this film that she acts in is a rape scene. And I don't know how many times I can say that word in this video for YouTube, because, you know, policies, I don't know, but I'm not going to say it too much because of, you know, that. But there is a depiction of that, but it's not actually that, if that makes sense, because she's acting, and the person that's actually doing it isn't actually sorry, I'm not laughing because of the thing, but just because of me trying to word it. He isn't actually raping her, it's acting. So whilst it's still uncomfortable to watch for me, and well, I'd like to think everyone that watches it feels uncomfortable. If not, then if you get pleasure out of it, then you should be sectioned. Well, I mean, seriously, it's not something to enjoy at all. But yeah, so there's that, and then there's like there's another scene later on in the film where it almost happens again, but for real, but it doesn't happen, and I won't say what because of spoilers, but I just want to let you know there are a couple of scenes where it depicts that. One of them where it doesn't really happen, kind of does, but it doesn't, because it's not really, it's acting, I guess you could say. And then later on it almost happens, but then something happens for it to not happen, if that makes sense. So, and there's also bits of nudity as well, not for pleasure, but for purposes for the film. I don't know how to really word it, but it's not, I mean, some people might think it is, but I don't think it is. Yeah, so it's not for enjoyment or pleasure for those kinds of people that want to watch it, but it's there's a purpose for it in the film, at least I feel. And I like it. Like I said at the beginning, I'm trying to look for anime films that aren't hentai. So while there is a little bit of nudity, it isn't exploitive in the sense that it's, you know, directing it for people that want to enjoy it, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to point out quickly before I go any further. So Dusty, you can let me know, message me and let me know if you'd be okay watching it. I mean, obviously I looked away at those scenes because it's obviously not very pleasant to watch at all. But after those scenes occur, it's fine. I mean, there's a reason why they're in the film, but I can understand you're reluctant to watching it if that's the case. So, yeah, I have no problem with you not watching it if that bothers you, which is totally fine. Okay, so now moving on to the positives. Now again, no spoilers. I'm trying not to spoil it, but I'll get to some spoilers later on. But spoiler-free positives. I think the main character we follow, Mima, M-I-M-A, she's great, a great protagonist that we follow. Like, you really feel like she's a very genuine character, like, doesn't feel fake or anything, if that makes sense. And you also feel very empathetic towards her, especially throughout the film when we see what kind of stuff she goes through. Again, I won't go into details, at least just yet, in this section because of spoilers. But she's a very good protagonist, and she is a very likable and empathetic protagonist that you want to follow and, you know, want to stick with and try and protect as well. You want to be there in the film and try and protect her without, you know, not without, with, you want to protect her. You basically want to jump through the screen and save her at any moment that she feels she's in danger or anything. So, which is good character writing. So, next I would say is the social commentary. Yeah, the strong themes in the social commentary they bring up in the film, which is basically, you know, explores identity, celebrity culture, and also especially exploitation of women in the entertainment industry as well, because I don't know, it's not really spoiling it necessarily, it's just telling you. I'm just going to give you a bit of a setup, if that's okay. If not, then skip. Mainly speaking to Dusty here. If you don't want to know even a little bit of the film, like a setup, then skip to whatever I'll put on screen. So a quick insight on the film for people that want to know. So it's about 𝕁𝕑, who at the beginning of the film is a pop idol, a J-pop singer, I guess you could say, of this trio, along with her two friends. And basically, she's at a point in her life, because I think she's been a pop idol for a while, and at this point in her life, she wants to give that up and basically move into full-time acting in films, but basically become a full-time film actress, basically. And she does so. That's all I'll say for that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of psychological elements. Of course, it's a psychological thriller, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video. And the psychological elements as well, another positive, which I'll get into, is very good. Some really tense some really intense atmosphere and suspense as well. Like, there are literal moments, mainly when I watched the Japanese one, because that was the first time I watched it. Genuine shivers. I mean, there's a couple of times in the English dub for the second watch that I was still like, still not as much the first time, because, you know, first experience, but I was still on edge. I was still like, ooh. So Satoshi Kon, obviously, again, the director, did a great job at doing that, at portraying the intense atmosphere and the suspense in the film. So I guess moving on to the mixed. Now, this one isn't mine. This is actually one that I kind of come up with that I could see other people having a mixed reaction to, is the ambiguous narrative structure, because this film has a lot of ambiguous elements, which again I won't get into right now because of spoilers, but there's a lot of stuff that's blurred intentionally, of course, for, you know, for good storytelling, I guess, to make it effective. But I'm just saying, if people don't like that, then that's another warning, I guess, is, you know, if you don't like ambiguous films with storytelling like that, then maybe steer clear, but I would still give it a chance if you wouldn't mind. But just want to let you know that's one of the things of the film that's very prominent. Second mixed is kind of mine as well as ones that I definitely could see people not liking or finding a bit mixed, is the graphic content, as I briefly mentioned earlier. It features disturbing violence. I mean, violence to me, regular violence like killing or whatever, doesn't affect me too much, unless it's really grotesque and really exploitive, which, you know, some can argue is exploitive in this, but, you know, it doesn't affect me too much anyway. Like, you know, but it's like, whoa, it's still like, whoa, especially when I first watched it, but it wasn't like, oh god, oh no, I hate this. But some people might feel that way, so another warning as well for that graphic content, definitely. And obviously also, you know, nudity as well, of course, I need to point out as well, that is in this. And then something that's definitely not on my side of things, because I really like this aspect, which I should have mentioned earlier in the positives, but the animation style, yeah, for some viewers, it's kind of hand-drawn. It's, again, the late 1990s, came out in 97. I don't know why I put this one down, really. I guess it just comes to personal taste. Like, if you don't like the hand-drawn style of anime, I don't know why you wouldn't, but let's say there are people out there that do, or don't, sorry, then it is hand-drawn in this one, unlike CGI, which can be good, but that's, I mean, I love the animation in this, but I'm just saying, I don't know why I put that one down, to be honest, but it's just something that I put down last minute. It was like, well, it's hand-drawn, from what I know, and I thought, well, if people don't like that, then, well, you know, sucks to be you, I guess. No, I'm kidding. No, if you don't like it, then, you know, fair enough. Watch something else, I guess. But, yeah, that's my final mixed, well, the mix that I've come up with. Ones that are mine and ones that I could, you know, consider other people can do. And now moving on to the negatives. I only have, well, I think I only have one, maybe two. Let me just double check. I guess one of the negatives is some plot elements feel underexplained. You know, again, without going into spoilers, well, try not to go into any spoilers, there are certain events that occur, there's, I don't know if I can say this without spoiling it, actually. Yeah, so there's, without going into exact details, there's scenes of fantasy and reality, and there's some aspects of those scenes that some people might not like that come into full fruition. Like, there are certain scenes that occur that come into play that some people are like, okay, which, again, some people might consider a negative, but I don't mind it. I mean, at first I was confused, but then I, you know, kind of found out what really happened. But as long as I got an explanation for what happens, which I did, then it's fine. But I mean, to begin with, I was a little bit confused myself, but for some people that might be a negative aspect, but for me it's good. But I just thought I'd note that down. Second negative, I'd say the pacing could feel uneven for some people. I mean, didn't really necessarily feel uneven to me. The pacing didn't really affect my viewing. It was only an hour and 21 minutes, and it didn't really affect my viewing. But I'm just saying, pacing is always a thing sometimes for people, but for me it was fine. I mean, this is kind of the big one, which is depictions of sexual violence may feel exploitive. You know, excessive, I guess, is a better word, because, you know, some people might find it to be too much and unnecessary. I guess that's the word, unnecessary. And some people will find it really, I would say, important, but necessary to show, basically. Like, it is necessary to show that, whilst it is still not nice to look at, but it's crucial for the story, for the purposes, for the characters, and trying to feel empathetic towards them, like Mima, for example, which I won't go into just yet. But yeah, basically stuff occurs alongside, I mean, I've already mentioned it earlier, but I won't mention it again, but there are scenes of that caliber that do occur, which some people might not like, and I totally understand if people don't like that, so that's another thing. And lastly, there are some secondary characters that have lack of depth. I don't know if I can say who yet because of spoilers, but like, there are some characters, there's one in particular that some people might not find that's not explored well enough. Yeah, and in a way I understand that, but I also kind of like the mystique of this character, which I can't explain yet. But yeah, I think that's it for the aspects. So I would say give it a watch, because it is worth watching. Before I get into spoilers, my rating would be probably a 9 out of 10. I've got to be honest, I really liked it. Well, yeah, I said I liked it, but I didn't enjoy it because of, you know, the themes and stuff. But I certainly respect it, and I do like it. don't enjoy it necessarily. But anyway, so yeah, Dusty, I think this is your time's up, unless you don't mind watching the spoilers or listening. But I would say watch the film. I would honestly say watch the film, unless you don't want to because of the reasons why I've said, and I totally understand why. So you can let me know and message me or comment, depending on what you want to do. So yeah, spoilers. Man, some of the stuff in this was just so evocative and just so crazy. Like, I don't know where to start, really. Again, like I said earlier, I really like 𝕁𝕭. I don't know why I'm so close. I think I was trying to put my elbows on the table, but it just, the proximity is too personal. So yeah, 𝕁𝕭, I really like her character. Especially upon rewatching the English version as well. Like, you know, watching it a second time, you know, in a different language, it's different. But, you know, getting to know her a bit more and, you know, reminding myself of who she is, you know, it's great. I really like her character. You know, the violence, the non-sexual violence, is really kind of whoa. It's not as violent as some may expect. I mean, there are certainly some that are like whoa, but it's not like Mortal Kombat, or I'm trying to think of other shows or films that are very gory and grotesque. But there are certainly some certain scenes that are, you know, that are quite gory or bloody, whatever. But it's not maybe as much as you think. But yeah, I liked them. They were fine. Now the rape scenes. Now, well, rape. It kind of is, but it isn't. I did feel uncomfortable when it came up, and especially when I rewatched it for the English one. I was like, oh god, I don't want to watch this again. So I kind of looked away a bit, kind of looked, and I was like, nope. Okay, and then by the time it ended, I was like, thank god, it's over. And then I'm like, wait, there's something else later on, which is the scene with the weirdo, which the stalker, the guy that we presume is kind of the only main guy that's stalking her, the fan, he is a creepy fucker. Oh god, like, I was like, certain expressions that he does just creep me the hell out. And obviously the things he does as well, like, you know, writing up, you know, kind of what she does, and you know, following her, and you know, attempting to rape her as well before he kills her. But obviously we find out, of course, that he is a pawn, essentially. PAWN, not that. He's obviously being manipulated by 𝕁𝕭's manager, Rumi. Obviously Rumi is 𝕁𝕭's manager, both in the J-pop career and also in her new acting career as well. So she stays her manager, agent manager, I think it's a manager, yeah. She stays as a manager throughout the whole film, basically, from being a singer to an actress. And I didn't really ever suspect it the first time. Like, I was like, wow, like, because you know, she feels, you know, she's very kind of quite protective over her, and then obviously you find out that she's the one behind all this, the murders, and you know, wanting, you know, and obviously dressing up as 𝕁𝕭 as well. I'm like, what? That was crazy when you find that out, or when I found that out. Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like, I honestly don't have much to say else, because I feel like I've been speaking for ages for the other parts. But yeah, just the whole twist I didn't see coming, because I thought the twist was that 𝕁𝕭 had personality disorder, where she's, you know, because obviously she's hallucinating her other self as the pop idol, the J-pop career herself, because she's kind of seeing her as that. So she's kind of battling towards her, because you think, oh god, she's battling with herself, like, oh, is this the right move to acting from singing, because obviously again she wanted to move away from the music industry and go into the film industry as an actress. And then throughout the film, it progressively gets worse, and you're thinking, well, is she going to return to the singing industry? And then obviously you kind of realise that it's not all her. It's not actually all her imagining. It's roomy, especially near the end where she actually is dressed up, and certain shots portray that it's actually her seeing her as this because of her psychological issues that occur in the film. So it's like, wow. So yeah, I don't know. I think the characters are great. Again, 𝕁𝕬𝕪 is of course the best character because that's the one we mainly follow. There's not really many other likable characters in this film, to be honest, because she doesn't have any friends other than obviously her two other band members from the beginning, and then we see them bits and bobs throughout the rest of the film, but they don't really speak to her any other point in the film. But other than that, there's not really anyone else other than her manager, which obviously then we find out that she's actually behind it all as the antagonist. She doesn't really have any other friends other than her mum that she speaks to on the phone, and it's kind of sad when you look at it. Like, she doesn't really have any other person to reach out for, because of the social commentary of the viewpoints of how women are treated in the entertainment industry, which is really sad. And then you got her boss, the one that drives her home sometimes, or every day almost, pretty much, after she's on set filming. Like, he's alright, but you kind of get a bit of a weird vibe off him, like he could have been the guy behind it all or something, but obviously he wasn't. But you get that kind of inkling because I knew about the social commentary a little bit, so you're kind of second guessing things a lot, especially as the film progresses, because you're like, what the fuck is happening? So in that sense, that's a good thing. So yeah, I'm really glad that I bought this and watched it. So especially on Blu-ray, because again, I'm an advocate for Blu-rays, so I'm glad I have it in my collection. So I'm not going to rewatch it anytime soon, I'd say, just mainly because obviously I've already rewatched it. I've watched it twice now, so and I think this is going to be one of those films that just needs to be viewed every now and again, just because of experience. Like, it's not one of those films to rewatch several times over a short period because of what's in it. So yeah, like Rumi's whole motivation as well was interesting. So again, the thing I was saying earlier, without spoiling it, the whole thing with her motivations and stuff was something that some people apparently don't like, that the fact that there's a lot of ambiguity around her character, there's not enough depth, even though she's a fascinating character to see and I guess follow in a certain degree. But some people don't like that there's not enough about her, but I think there was just enough, I'd say. But that's just me. I don't know what else is there to say, really, other than it is worth watching. I would say it is as good as a lot of people have made it out to be, which is good, because sometimes I've been set up with expectations and been disappointed, and in this case I'm not, which is great. So again, giving it a 9 out of 10, 4.5 star, really worth watching. Yeah, I think I've said all I wanted to say. So this video is going to be probably really long, and I don't know how I'm going to be editing it down. I don't know when we're going to be uploading this, because it is the evening now, so we'll see. Now, this other film that I'm wanting to watch, which is also Satoshi Kon's film, which I'm not revealing yet. I'm going to try and watch at some point soon. Don't know when. Can't say exactly, but I'll try and watch it as soon as I can, and obviously review it. I'll do again like with Perfect Blue, watch the Japanese and then the English, and then do this with that. And yeah, I'm intrigued to see what that's like, because I know the basic premise. I won't talk about it now because of, you know, irrelevant. So yeah, and that's it, guys. So if you enjoyed my review for Perfect Blue, please consider giving it a thumbs up. So if you want to check out our other content on Dudes Talk Cinema, please consider it, and maybe perhaps subscribe if you feel like it. Not forcing anyone to, it's just consideration. And yeah, thanks for watching. And oh yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've seen Perfect Blue. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What would you rate it? And yeah, I'll probably see you guys in the next video. Don't know what it'll be, but probably maybe for the film I'm talking about that's coming out next, but we'll see. Alright, cheers guys.